Hello my scrapping friends, and welcome to another Christmas additional layout that I would like to share with you today. And those of you who don't know me, I'm Deborah Kozlovic and I'm a Creative Memories Independent Advisor from Australia. Today I want to show you a completely different technique, and it's using some embroidery cotton and a needle. The embroidery cotton that I will be using on this layout actually came in one of the secret boxes that there was a card. I think it was the Gem Tones secret box, and we received in there the blue and the green cotton, and that was to design on a make a card. And also in the Deck the Halls Christmas cards, I also received some additional cotton that was also in there. So I will be using some of those today, using the embroidery cotton today. And as you can see on my cardstock here, I've created a Christmas tree. So I will show you how I completed this tree today. So the things that we would need is a piece of cardstock, a pencil, a rubber, a darning needle that's thick enough and pointy enough to actually go through your cardstock, a pair of scissors, a centering ruler, and your embroidery cotton. And with this embroidery cotton, I also received the little needle. It's like a little darning needle, but it doesn't have a point on it. So this needle will not make a hole in our cardstock. So that is the reason I am using the proper darning needle with the point. So to get started, we're going to be using a piece of cardstock, and today I'm using the new red cardstock that Creative Memories have brought out. I've already made my little dots on my cardstock, but I will show you how I did them and what measurements I did use. So to start off with, you need to make the width of your tree between this point and that point. So on this one here, the distance between the bottom of my tree is 4 inches. So you can start at 4 inches. You can make the base of your tree wider, depending on how high and tall you would like to create your Christmas tree. So on this one, I did 4, but on the red cardstock, I'm actually doing 4.5. So what I did was, I just get my 13 by 13 inch mat. So I lined my cardstock up on the 13 by 13 inch mat, and what I did was I got my centering ruler and my pencil. So I started 2 inches from the bottom of my cardstock and lining up my centering ruler on the 2 inches, and I've marked it at 4.5. So I've actually just put a pencil dot on the 0 to the 4.5 here. So then my next step I moved it 1/2 inch up. So then I went from up on 2.5, and then from my 0 point I took it in by 1/4 inch. So I just done another pencil dot on the 1/4, and this one was 4.5, so then I'm going to make that 4.25. So I did this process all the way up. So I'll repeat that again. That is going 1/2 inch up. So then my next one would be 3 inches. And then I would have 1/4 inch from the last dot, which would then make it 4 inches here. And from here, it would make 1/2. So the reason why I'm saying 1/2 and 4 is because on my centering ruler, it's starting at the 0 and then I'm going down to 4.5. So then I'm taking a quarter of it in and going from the opposite side. So that is taking it half up, dotting it at your next quarter. So then I'll take it up to 3.5, and then my next one, just by lifting up that ruler, that would be 3.25, and then that'd be 3/4. So then I'm just taking it 1/2 inch up and then bring it in again at 1/4 inch until I got to the top of the point, and then that I just made that one my dot from the middle of the 4.5. So that makes the structure of my tree points. So then the way I did my trunk on my tree, same thing with the centering ruler. I took it down, so that's on 2 inches. So I took it down to 1 3/4. So then the distance between from my dots at the bottom from here to here is 4.5. So then I more or less just centered the ruler in the middle and got my middle points so that the base of my tree was sitting directly in center of the middle of the tree. So then I've just taken that 1 inch wide, so one point to the other, which is just 1 inch, and then I just took it down 1/4 by 1/4 and then got my dots. And I think I did that. This one is 1 2 3 4 5 down, and that will make the trunk of your tree. Now the star on my tree, and how I did the star, I just drew the star. So I'll just grab a scrap piece of paper. So with the star on the top of my tree, I actually just drew the star lightly on my cardstock, so it might be easy to rub out, but then it could be covered with your stitching cotton. And the way I did that was I just drew a line and I went down, up, down, and over. And I've just done that star simply just at the top of my tree. So then when I, punch the holes through it with my darning needle, I would just punch it from that point, that, and so. So this in between the middle, I would not punch any holes. So then when I use my cotton, I would just go under, and it's more or less repeating the same step over and over. I would do it like singly strand, and I would go under. So that's on the top of your cardstock, and this will be under, then that'll be there. So then you're repeating the opposite steps, so then all points are covered with your cotton. So after I've done my star and got my tree base planned out in my pencil and my trunk of my tree, I then got my darning needle, and all I did was, I've got my fingers separated underneath so I don't, like dig myself with the needle. And all I did was got the needle on the dot and then pushed it through. So I'm just going to repeat this on all of my dots, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I'm just going through on each one and avoiding my fingers underneath. So now that I've finished poking the holes through with my darning needle on the outside of my Christmas tree and the trunk of my tree, I'm going to be doing the star. I'm not sure if you can see the star in my pencil lining there. So the way I'm going to do my star, as I said on earlier, I'm just going to poke through on each corner of the tips of the star. I hope you can all see what I'm doing. So now that I've poked through the tips of my star and I've got my tree and I have my trunk. So I've decided to use some blue for the trunk of my tree, just to make it a little bit more different and a little bit more colourful. So I've just got a little bit of knots happening here. So I think that will be enough. And also with this needle, you're not going to be poking yourself, so there's not going to be any blood if you prick yourself by accident using this needle. So it's pretty safe. So I don't tie a knot in the back. So now all I'm going to do is thread that first one in the back, and then making sure that I have a little bit there. So I'll hold that down and then I'll just start stitching my way down. Oops. Let's try that again. Wrong way. So that there. So what I might do is I'm going to be using this tape that Creative Memories have bought out. It's still your photo tape, but it's actually on a roll. So I'm just going to get some of this and cut it off and just placing it on my cotton there. And let's try that again. So the only thing that I'm going to be doing is just going under and over. So then moving down to your next. Bit of fumble fingers happening here this morning. So just going under and over. Not pulling it too tight, but making sure that it's nice and firm, because you don't want to have loose stitching on your page, but you also don't want to have it too tight that you're going to be ripping your cardstock. So just going under and over. It's very simple to do, but just makes it to have a different effect and a different technique using on your page layouts. So there's the trunk of my tree. So I'm just going to turn that over, and then I'm just going to cut that off, and then using a bit of the photo tape again. The other thing that you could also use for this would be your photo chips. That will also work to holding that down. So I've got our trunk. So now I'm going to change my cotton, and I'm still going to be doing the green for the tree. And I'm also going to double that when I'm stitching it, so it gives it a fuller look. So just threading that. Also the same thing, not tying a knot in your string. That will give it like a little bit of a bulge at the back, which you don't want to have. So threading that, getting to our end point. So then doing exactly the same thing, we're going to start from the back. And it's the same process what we just did with the trunk, is going under and over. So I'm just going to tape that down so it doesn't lift. So now that we've taped that down, it's nice and firm and secure. So I'm just going to go under and over, and then going to my next one, finding that hole there, and just repeating it as we get to the tip of our tree. Also having it nice and firm, but again not too tight that you're going to rip your cardstock. So just keep going under and over until we get to the tip. So now that I've rethread it, we just go up to our next hole, pulling it through. And taping that down, hold it in place. So we've only got a couple more to go to our tip of our tree. So going in and out. So now at the tip, I went in, just going back to the other one, I think I might have made another little hole down below. So I'm just going to get my darning needle again, and I might just make another little hole just above, because my star is a little way from the tree, just to finish that point at the top of the tree, so it looks like so. So I'm just going to cut that off, just getting another little bit of tape to hold that firmly in place. So now you can see that I've got my base done and my tree. So now for the star. So I'm just going to be using this, it's like a goldy, yellowy, well not really yellow, but goldy colour of the stitching cotton. And we're going to use that for our star. So as I said, I'm sure when I did my star, I did do it singly, because I did thread it through over and over a few times to make that exact look for the star. So now that I'm going to twine in at one end of my star and just following my pencil markings, I'm not going to tie it down at the moment, and just follow my pencil markings and keep going in and out and rotating that until I have every point covered, and over looping under and over a few times. So I'm just going to hold that down. So then I'm going to go this way, and then we're going to go up the top. So then we'll follow that down. And then, so now I'm just going to go overlap and going back in, pulling my string up, Then we're going to go across. So then we'll have to go back in the top one and bring it down. And as you can see, there is the star. So just following my simple drawing steps and covering each point, and that will give me my star. So we'll just turn that over and we're back at the same point where we started. So I'm going to trim that and then put some more tape on to hold those in place. So there is another look at a simple Christmas tree that you can make with the darning cotton, the stitching cotton, and making a simple look of a Christmas tree on our cardstock. In terms of designing this cardstock, I've pulled out a couple of items that I might use. I have some presents in the embellishments, so I'm thinking I might use some of those to go underneath my tree just to make it look complete, and just place them out in a simple way, and then maybe using a bow or two on top of the presents. So that is one example that I can do under my tree. I've also pulled out some of the seasonal sighting embellishments. So I've got some, you know, like some titles. There I've pulled out a bauble embellishment. So I can always have a look, something similar to that. Going through my embellishments here, have some holly that I could use, and that can always be placed at the top like that. And I've also pulled out some of the variety mats, and you can make a pocket page on the top of your you know, once you insert your page, you can make a pocket page doing it on the top, and you can have, you know, like one of these titles. You can have Noel, Merry Memories, and then you can have that on the front, and then you can have additional 2 photos added to your page layout. And these ones here are a little bit bigger variety mats, and they measure 4.5 by 6.5, and you could use one of those as a photo mat for your page. And they also have some great journaling boxes on the opposite side. The other thing I have is a couple of 4.25 by 4.25 square photo mats that can also be laid on your layout. You know, so just, you know, completing your layout of how many photos that you would like to put on your page. So doing something like, just trying to find the right color that will match my red. The green's nice. I'm taking that green away. I can have that photo mat here. And then I can use my page protector, or if you use the pocket pages, and then I could have a pocket page on the front, and then using that so I can have 2 photos. The other thing that I thought about doing was got some designer paper from the seasonal sightings, and I have some quarter strips here, and just making a nice edge on the outside of your layout like this to make it stand out a little bit more, and then just doing simple photo mats with some designer paper. And there's also the opportunity of, you know, using other embellishments or stickers from seasonal sightings to finish your page out. Or you might have one of our old Christmas collections that you would like to use to complete your layout. And here's another little title that you can use. If you didn't want Merry Christmas, you could use a Christmas tree and joy. And then you can still have the holly up the top. So that's something simple and easy that you can complete with this page layout using the simple stitching. So that's using the red, and this is just using our beige, or I think it might be in light grey before that discontinued, and then we have the beige, which is a similar colour. Well, I hope you all enjoyed my little technique today using some stitching cotton and making a Christmas tree on the cardstock. I really hope that you enjoyed this technique and try it out. So please remember to like, give me some love, subscribe to my channel, and happy scrapping, everyone. Hey Scrappy friends, I wanted to jump back on to show you my completed layouts after demonstrating the Christmas tree with you all. So I've placed my cardstock in the pocket page, and I've used that extra pocket page with a pocket on the top, and I've inserted one of those in variety mats as my title, so that gives me an additional photo underneath and also another 4x6 photo. So that layout gives me two 4x6 photos, and I have my little journaling box down the bottom. And on the other one I've done similar, but the only difference is I've actually placed two 4 1/4 photo mats, so that will give me two 4x4 photos. And the same similar thing, used a 4x6 pocket page, well, pocket I should say, and cut that variety mat down, and also got a little journaling box on the back there. So I hope you enjoyed watching my video, and I hope you scrap along and like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any more wonderful different techniques that I can show you all. Thank you.